All right, so this will be the last video, except maybe a summary video of how the entire application works. But we're going to go over last video. We went over how the detail page worked and how, for our own personal portfolio, we can break down the three different portfolios here and then show which ones are above the 20, 50, 200, etc. Now, today on this video, I want to go over how we produce this page. So let me go to actually, this will be a better one to look at. So these core are built into everyone's application, whereas then you can customize on this drop down. So in the core sector summary, you're looking at the 11 sectors, 19 industries, and close to 50 subsectors. So we've got almost 80 categories here. These are all ETFs of different indices. And so what this does is it shows, the percent of sectors that are above their 20-day exponential moving average, 50, 200, under 200, and it does it for each of these. So you can think of these as three different portfolios. Just show you here. Here's how it would look for our two portfolios. And then at the bottom of it, right here, it's taking the total of all stocks and dividing it into all stocks. So it's taking every stock of the three portfolios that's above the 20 and then dividing it by all the stocks in all three portfolios to give us a total. I like to use this mainly just to get an idea of the health of the overall market. And again, on this page, just like on detail, you can do current, which is right now live, versus yesterday's close to see the changes. So let's take a look at the back end here. So it's pretty straightforward here. And on the back end, it looks like a lot of code, but it's just a lot of math and formatting to get it to kind of look like this with two decimal places and as a percent and all that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at the code. So here's the route. And again, you can pass, it's just a get method. You can pass the date, which is just today or yesterday. Pretty simple. Checking to make sure the user's logged in. We're going to grab the user's ID from session ID or session user ID, which is stored when the user logs in. And like we did in the details, we're going to grab all the user's portfolios. I'll just take a quick peek at it in case you didn't watch the last video, which essentially is just joining for all three or up to three portfolios a user has. We're going to join using the join table here. We're going to join every stock in that portfolio as a stock object so that we can access the name and the ticker of every stock in that portfolio. And we're just going to return a list of portfolios here. We're going to double check that the user has at least one portfolio. Otherwise, it's going to kick them back to the current portfolios page here and just flash them a message like, hey, you got to make a portfolio in order to show this page. And then what we are going to do is we are going to run these two functions basically to create this page here. So let's take a look at the first function, which is in our helpers file. So breadth summary portfolio. Whoops. Okay, breadth summary portfolios. So again, it's really just a lot of formatting in here. It's not all that complicated. So just like we did with the details, we're going to run this MA compute test function. I'll just run over it real quick. Basically, all we're doing is creating a dictionary with 4 lists in it. So right down here, these are the keys, and then the value will be the actual list of stocks that are above the 20, 50, 200. We run this batch API call. So we go get all the historical pricing data using the yfinance library. And then we are going to take that data and we are going to calculate current price, 20, 50, 200. And we are going to do the exact same thing we did in the detail because we need this information, again, in order to see how many stocks. We need to be able to count all the stocks in each list. And then we also need to be able to count all the stocks in the portfolio. And then to do the total line, we're going to need all the stocks in all the portfolios. So back down here, so basically what we're getting back here is giving us a dictionary with these 4 lists in it. So, well, actually these 4 lists in it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create another dictionary. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pass in these numbers basically. And again, I like to use these dictionary of lists because it's just easier for me to access on the front end using Flask. You can see here, you can target the first portfolio and then just target the key you want, to get the value, the list that you want. It's just a lot easier, I think. So anyway, so all we're doing here, I'm just going to go over one line and not all of them, but we are grabbing that list of stocks that are above their 20-day for this portfolio. And Then we're going to get the length of that. We're going to divide it into the length of the entire amount of stocks in that portfolio, times it by 100, so it's not a percent, so we can turn it to a percentage, and then just use this little format in here. I like to see 2 decimal points. If you want to change it to 0.1 and just show 1 decimal point, you can also do that. I'm just used to seeing 2, so that's all this is doing. Kind of a lot of code to just really basically format our numbers properly. So all we're doing here is taking the number of stocks above their 20 and dividing it into the amount of total stocks in the portfolio. And we do that for every portfolio. So for port in portfolio, and then we append all that to one big list and we return that port list. So that is here, and we pass that through here. Then we need to do the total line. So this, not that it's that complicated, it's just you need to be able to grab the entirety of all the stocks in all 1, 2, or 3 portfolios. So in order to do that, I'm just separating it into a different function to make it simple. So again, we're going to access the helpers file. We'll go down here to breadth summary total. So we're going to create a dictionary containing the stocks in each portfolio for the category. So again, using a dictionary. And for here, we're going to do I in range, because here we're going to do each portfolio 0, index 0 is portfolio 1, index 1 is portfolio 2, etc. And all we're going to do here is, again, create new key value pairs. So we're going to go back again and grab the MA compute test, which is going to bring us all the lists we need for that portfolio. So for every stock above the 20, 50, etc. And we're going to do that for every portfolio. And we're going to save that in here, because what we need to do then, so now we have our summary percent, similar to what we did up here, except we don't need to format it all yet. We're just grabbing the data. So for each portfolio, we're just making a list. Well, it's a key value. So we're basically going to have, if we have 3 portfolios and 4 of these, we're going to have 12 different keys within our main dictionary here. And each one of those is going to access one of these lists for each individual portfolio. Then down here, we need to get the length, how many stocks are in the entire portfolio. So to do that, we are going to just set these to 0. And we're just going to do, if there is a length, because we need to check and make sure, because there might only be one portfolio. And so all this is doing is checking to make sure that if there's one portfolio, then we're going to change this variable to be the length of that portfolio. If there's 2 portfolios, then we need to do this function. Well, not a function, this calculation, this calculation. If there are 3, then we need to do the third one as well. And then all we're doing is adding them up, right? Because we need to make sure we don't break it. If we only have 2 portfolios, we can't have a value here, which is why these are all set to 0. Because let's say there's only 2 portfolios. Well, then we don't want to run this, but we do need a variable here, right? In case they do have 3, in this case, let's say they have 2, then this will just be 0. And same thing if they only have 1 portfolio. But if they have 3, it's going to add all the stocks up. Then down here, and again, it seems like a lot of code, and maybe there's a faster or simpler way to do this, but it kept kind of breaking if I didn't have, because I needed to be able to account for a user can have multiple amounts of portfolios. So, and again, if I wanted to make this so that they can have 5 portfolios or 10, then we can just kind of expand this to take care of that. So here we are doing, okay, so we're going to grab the summary total here. And down here, we are going to set each of these keys, right? So summary total. And all we're doing now is, just want to show again, we've basically taken care of all this. This is all to just get this last line down here is what we're doing. So that's why it seemed a little bit repetitive. And so now we're talking about summary total. So now we want to get the amount of, across all 3 portfolios, or 2 or 1, how many stocks across all the portfolios are above the 20, 50, 200. So that's what this is doing here. And so essentially all we're doing is for I in range 0 for length of portfolios. So this again takes into account whether they have 1, 2, or 3 portfolios, no problem. And we're just going to do a plus equals the length of the next portfolio. So we know we're going to have at least, 1 portfolio. And it's also possible these could just stay 0, right? Like all the portfolios, in fact, like I can show you an example. There are no stocks below the 200, so this just stays 0, and that's totally fine. So that's pretty simple here. Just running a for loop here to add them all up. And then at the very end here, we're going to do the same type of thing where we're just going to take the summary total for EMA 20, which is here, and divide it by this total stock count. So again, I'll say it one last time, no issues. If they have 1, 2, or 3 portfolios, this can handle all combinations and will not break. So again, that's why it's so long, just to take all that into account. And then we just format it again. You can change this to 1 decimal or 3 or whatever you want. I just kind of like 2. And then we return that summary total. So back here to the route, we've got this, which is going to handle all of these 3 down here. And then we've got the summary total, which is going to handle this line down here. We pass those 2 into here. We'll go to the HTML page, and then using Flask. And then all we have here is just really one big, go here, one big table. And so here's the headers. That's what this is. And then all we have to do is we put the .name, right? Because we have all the information for the portfolio, and every stock is an object as well. So we can access anything we need from the database. Well, it's all been returned from the database as objects. And then all we do is go through here is port list index 0, and we want to access EMA 20. So these are the first 3. And then we go down here, and instead of doing the port list and accessing the 3 different portfolios, we use this function to have us just give the summary total, and then we just target each of the 4 categories we have. So those are these ones down here. So essentially, again, all we're really doing is taking this information, which is helpful too. Like sometimes you want to drill down. Other times you might just want to take a look at how healthy your portfolio is from day to day, and you can just take a quick shot here. The way I kind of always used it was I would go here to core sector summary, and I'd see, okay, overall health of the market. Now let's say it's looking really healthy, like markets are turning down now a bit. It's the beginning of 2024. But then I can drill down and say, okay, let's see, XLF. So banks or financials seem to be doing good. And then even here in the industries, you can see capital markets, insurance, banks, even regional banking. These are all doing well. So what you can do from here, and what I do a lot is I'll say, okay, let's take a look at what makes up the KRE, regional banking index. Like what are the top holdings in it? So then I'll go, just Google, KRE ETF holdings. I'll grab the top holdings, and then I'll create a portfolio of those holdings, let's say, and then I can go back here and say, what do those ones each individually look like, and kind of break it down in here. So kind of a lot of code on the back end to just get what are really seem simple numbers, but by the time you do the math, format it, and again, it's all pretty simple in these helper files. It's really just a lot of basic math and formatting and a few little conditional statements, but that's what we've got there. All that to say, to give us again an idea of where we sit currently. And again, we can compare these back and forth. So that's all I've got for Breadth summary. I think I'll make one last video, maybe this weekend, that just kind of does a total, do like a blank account and start from scratch and just do a nice little quick 10-minute video and maybe go through each of the different functionalities just on the front end, not look at any code, just to make it easy for people to use the application. As always, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, shoot me a message. Thanks.